Hey, Cindy? Lana, am I tuned in?
Yes.
Okay,
Hold
thank
on,
you.
please.
Tim, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Looks like we're now streaming live. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order here. And we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all please stand. And if you have a flag in your presence, please face your flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the
of the
United States
States of America,
and to the republic
to the republic for
stands
which it stands,
one nation
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty
with
and
liberty and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. If we could now call roll call
Tim Dean,
here.
Bruce Angel,
Here.
Jan Berg,
Here.
Mike Thomas,
Like he's trying to talk.
can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah,
Are you here?
yes, I am.
And we know that Yvonne Van Ornum is not present today.
Thank you very much. Next item would be approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. So approval of agenda. So we will now move on to the next item, which is approval of the consent agenda. And these will be items 1 through 5, the minutes of the last 5 meetings that we've had.
Move to approve the consent agenda?
All second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you very much. Next item we'll be moving on to is new business, which is going to be item number 1, which is the Washington Street Design Review discussion. And I believe that would be Director Mark, right?
Josh.
Oh, yes, bottom screen.
Thank you.
Share. So yes, these are homes that are going across from the library across Washington Avenue. These are 4 that are front loaded and 4 that are back loaded. We have color samples of about 8 different homes. He did not have color renderings, as you can tell. Renderings themselves weren't able to be in color, but we do have some color palettes that he said he was going to be able to come on. Was he able to?
So,
So we got the first color scheme, kind of just showing the trims and kind of various materials that they're going to be coloring of the elevations. And then he has about 15 different schemes that he'd be using. Each scheme he'd be using individually and not piecemealing from various other ones. So the intent is that they do all in a form naturally go together.
Yeah. Josh, did we know if we're going to be getting any renderings on those at all? Showing,
He said that this was what he had available and that the renderings themselves he wasn't able to have in color.
okay.
So each of the homes is going to be different, correct? They're not all going to be just one that he chooses?
Correct. So yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be a variety, a mix of color palettes. So they won't be all the same.
Yeah.
There'll be different looks consistently next to each other as well as different color schemes.
So 15 different color schemes.
Yeah, so obviously he's only gonna pick 8 of these 15. It looked like he was unable to join us tonight because he was gonna go in depth about which one specifically he was gonna be able to utilize when I talked with him earlier last week. So
Okay. And was the final on this, Josh, was it with the houses were going to be, every other house was front end and then every other house was back end loaded, right?
that is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we have the site plan here.
there we go. Thank you.
What is the width of the lots? I was trying to find that on here, but I can't find it. I was just curious.
38.
Yeah, they're 38, so that's the historic Old Town lots.
Yep, okay, that's what I thought they were, but I couldn't see it on the prints anywhere.
Right, yeah. I don't believe it's called on that site plan that we have up currently.
Any further discussion on item number 1? No further questions? Okay, let's move on to item number 2. That would be Smart Cap Airport Industrial Design Review discussion, PLN number 741.
So Robert, did you want to speak on this? Looks like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so let's see. Was there anything you wanted to share on the screen or anything of that nature? Or did you want to just go through what we had in terms of what we have for your DRB submittal?
Well, I could share screen with quite a few different options. Potentially, I guess we could start with one of the color renderings. I don't know what's most helpful for your group. That's a bit far off. I mean, that certainly shows the overall development, and then there's some closer in views that show some of the design details in, like I say, closer in better detail.
What about this one, Robert?
Yeah. So this is a 2-phase industrial development planned on focusing toward primarily manufacturer users in Arlington, and we've had some good success attracting quite a bit of businesses from outside of the Arlington area to this community, and so we are continuing that process. So building A is a planned 134,000 square foot building that will be kind of at the northwest corner of 172nd Street and Airport Boulevard. And then building B will be built once building A is leased, and will be immediately north of it, and they'll share a truck court for loading and so forth.
And we talked about with staff about the plans for shielding parking, which would involve the wall on the east side and the berm on other 3 sides. But we also talked about cornice on the corner and the lack of carrying that through the roof line with something, the bump outs look much better, thanks for that. The blue ones.
Good.
But what we were talking about too is basically the 3 layers of a building, and the cornice accomplishes that, but just in the corner. What are the chances that you could extend that cornice in one or another, further down the sides, as well as just in that, I guess that would be the southeast corner?
Well, I mean, certainly we can do it. The question is ultimately we have to balance with, you know, what we can do with what we should do. You know, certainly we want a visually attractive building and a building that is going to, you know, number one, look good for attracting tenants, but certainly looking good as a, you know, a visible new addition to the Arlington community and, you know, the built landscape. But we certainly have to balance that with overall development costs, and certainly with the additions of the projections on these blue accent areas, and then some additional awnings, and then adding the parking screening wall. There's we're trying to balance this with, is it economically feasible?
Well, if I can interject here a little bit, Robert, one of the things that I've discovered about this is you've got kind of 2 challenges here. Number one is that this is going to be basically the first major building anyone's going to see as they enter into the 172nd corridor. The next thing is that this is going to be the first building going in, which most likely has, not always, but almost always, starts to set the tone for what the rest of the builders are going to be doing in here. That's why we're looking for the sophistication that you're bringing to this. We like it. I like the bump outs, look really nice. I think you guys did a great job with those. I see the
Thank you.
with the lines on them, you know, and so what we're trying to do is give it that one little extra step up, and we kind of need you guys to hopefully work with us on that part, because this is going to set the tone for just about everybody else that's going to be building in here. And that would really be helpful for us in decision making.
Okay. Is that, I guess, to help me understand the, you know, your perspective or other commission members, is that the primary, I guess, remaining item, or are there a list of others of you know, wish list type of things that would kind of cap off the design elements of the development?
Well, we don't want to open up that box, do we? I mean,
Well, not really. I'm just,
I mean,
I guess what I'm hesitant to agree to is adding this, and then there might be comments from another commissioner adding on several other things. And
no,
so, you know,
think,
certainly we've worked really hard to add elements to the building that make it a desirable place for tenants to lease, and certainly you know, as your comment of that kind of gateway to the larger airport business park. And we certainly we see that as well, and we want it to be something that is really attractive out of the gates, and you know, for many years to come. So I would say if that was kind of the last element, then we would figure out a way to make that work. But we do have to be very careful of you know, design changes that just go that can kind of snowball.
I didn't foresee anything about or heard anything about any anything further than what we've
Okay.
basically already requested. So it would be
Okay.
more of the 3-foot berm, a wall on the east side, finishing the cornice around the building so that it looks finished. And,
Okay.
you know, I can't speak for the other commissioners at this point, but that would pretty much do it for me.
Okay. I would say
I'm
that,
agreeing
that
with
we
Tim.
could make that, we could make that design change for sure.
So before we move on to the next item. Any further?
Tim,
Were there any other questions or?
we were having a little sidebar about this. So could you repeat or just summarize what the conversation was for the last 3 minutes that you just had?
Sorry.
Sorry.
So the take.
Oh, looks like Robert just froze up, so.
So we heard everything about the expense of it, doing that and your conversation. But you and Robert were having a small conversation for about 1.5 minutes. And we just wanted to make sure we captured that in the minutes if it was relevant.
What he was basically saying on this one was, he knows that there are some concerns and some desires or wishes from the commission. But what he was mostly concerned about was that I would have something like the finishing of the cornice around the roof. Then all of a sudden it would, you know, we'd go to the next and there would be a, you know, basically a big wish list of items that would sort of take it out of the realm of being cost effective, maybe, you know. But I reiterated the fact that if we can do our 3-foot berms around and put the wall or the barrier on the east side, that's basically what we summarized.
Okay. And so our sidebar conversation was this, whether or not, instead of continuing the cornice along that parapet wall, the entire length of the building, whether something could be done on the projections that made them more prominent at the top. Instead of having to continue that cornice along that entire length of the building. Joss said that the building that they were kind of replicating, at least with the color schemes on those blue projections, they had some type of a yellow architectural feature at the top of those blue columns. So just
Hello?
wondering whether,
Looks like
Oh.
Robert's back.
Yep. Robert's back in.
Hey, I apologize. I use my phone for audio and video on Zoom calls. So the takeaway from my conversation with Dean is that we will be able to add the corniced cap metal to the west, south, and east elevations of the building. I think just due to the fact that it really wouldn't be seen, there would be, I think, little value in having it on the north elevation of the building A.
oh, of course, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
truck bays, what's the point? Robert, one
Yeah.
thing our little sidebar conversation was this. We were kind of discussing the projections and those blue columns and whether or not maybe if there were some type of a architectural feature at the top of those as opposed to the cornice continuing down the entire length of the building, if that wouldn't be a more bang for your buck to do it that way.
So I will say it's harder to see in the renderings, but if you zoom in on, I guess one of the closer in renderings, we have the color of that cap metal on the blue accent areas is going to be black to give that pop, and just distinguish it from the rest of the cap metal on the other elements of the building. So certainly if we did the cornice cap and then again kept it in that accent color, I think that would keep with our existing color scheme and give you that pop that you're describing.
Yeah, I think that gives you more prominence of the building. Definitely accentuates those columns. So
For sure.
how's that sound?
Yeah, and as far as what I'm seeing is that accomplishes basically what we were talking about with extending the cornice. So if we just accent the blue bump outs, that solves the same problem.
Okay.
That isn't an add-on. I mean, we're not compiling a list for you.
Oh no, I didn't mean it to come off negatively. I not hearing other comments. I was just, I guess, having. I wanted to make sure that I got all comments from the members before, I guess, providing my thoughts. So.
Oh, you're being so cautious. No, I think that would be, would represent this very well. Like that would give you the prominence on here that we're really looking for. So.
Okay.
So just to understand, you're talking about putting the yellow on top where the black is? Is that what you're?
No, what I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on that. What I was contemplating or trying to describe was putting the corniced cap metal
Gotcha. Okay.
on the blue accent projections of the building,
With the black.
but then
yeah.
keeping that black so that it has a visual distinction from the other cap metal on the building.
Okay, thank you.
We like the yellow, but we don't want to go overboard with it.
That was my concern.
Thank you for that.
So any more questions or comments? And are we voting today, Mark, on approval, or are we?
I guess it's so that Robert has some assurance as to where we are. I think he's not really looking for the vote on it, but if you're comfortable in voting, we could certainly do that. He just wants to make sure that he has some marching orders moving forward here and that nothing's going to come back to surprise him at the next meeting.
So just so I'm sure that everybody's had an opportunity to speak up, Mike, Thomas, you're okay with the discussion we've had just recently?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. And Jan, you're okay with the discussion we've had?
Yes, I am.
And Bruce and Jill, you're okay with it?
I am, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
Then Chair requests a motion.
I move that we approve the Smart Cap Airport Industrial Design, PLN 741, with the conditions that we described in tonight. That's it.
I'll second.
Do we have a
Fair enough.
second on that?
Yeah,
So,
we'll identify it all in the minutes and on the
all
permit.
in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? No opposed? Thank you, Mr. Shipley. We looks like we took care of business today for you, so
Great. Thank you. We appreciate it very much.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Let's go ahead and move on to item number 3 then, which is going to be Dungeness Gearworks Design Review Discussion, PLN number 706.
Yes, it looks like we do have the applicant Alan Burks available for us here. Yep, looks like he unmuted.
Okay. Can you hear us, Alan?
Yes.
So yes, this is an update to the Dungeness Gearworks. We've seen it a couple times. It is PLN 706. Let's see if we pull up the new renderings. This So this was the previous one. So looks like maybe we just had it on. Scroll. Oh, it looks like we weren't able to. That one. Alan, is there a
Yep.
bill for you to share the most recent one?
Pardon?
Do you have the most recent elevations that you could share on your screen for us?
The ones previous to this?
No, the one that you have.
The most recent one, the most recent elevations are showing on the screen at this time.
Okay, I guess we're just missing.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
south and east elevations.
Okay.
But
What
yeah.
we've, okay, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, if you want to go ahead and explain the changes you've made for the commissioners.
Yes, thank you this evening. What we've done is we've taken the input that we've received from you and we've made some changes to give it to more of the contrast that you have to get away from the flat roof wall conditions. So what we've done on the west side, which is 59th, which is our high exposure side, we've incorporated, I use the term an outset horizontal rib, box rib on the corners. And then we've changed our downspouts to the darker gray to kind of give that more of the panel effect there. And then as you can see, we went with the composite stone matching colors to the granite grays and the zinc grays at the bottom. And then on the north elevation, what I would like to do if I can is go ahead and show the other elevations real quick. Okay, as you come down 180th going, this is the south elevation. You can kind of see how these panels are kind of now boxed out. I'll show you a couple. We mocked, set up a mocked profile to show you how the inset of the lighter gray panels and then the darker panels, horizontal panel, box rib panels, it's an inset out condition. It mounts directly onto the high rib of the building, giving it that effect. We've added the horizontal box rib across the top, giving this whole south exposure a much better appeal of and contrast to different inset outset conditions. If you will, as you ride down the road with this here is an example of how the box rib goes against the panel rib. And then if you'll go to the next picture, please. You can see that from the actual flat of the panel rib, the actual box rib now will set out a little, almost 3.5 inches by sitting on the high rib, giving it more contrast and depth between the different shapes and material variation. And then this kind of shows you that box ribs is about an 1.5 inches thick. And then that will have the trim, associated color trims around it. I think there's one more picture, I think. This kind of shows a little bit how the contrast as you look at the building from a distance, it will show that it's just not a flat roof, a wall anymore. And we've used these materials to give it this type of look. We think that it's going to be very eye appealing, and we think that it will give that setback, outset, inset condition look that will help it meet the purposes that you desire. I would reiterate that this building and this elevation here on the south elevation, that is a total of 80 feet. And then the east elevation, which won't really be seen much because of the fence. You'll see if you're riding in a car, actually the profile is less than what's shown, but we're just showing the 8-foot fence. You'll see actually, for example, riding down 180th, you won't really even see the lower light there. It will go up another couple feet. And but you'll still those corners will still have that inset outset look to them. If you'll go to the, excuse
Could
me.
you go up to the other elevations for me, please? Yeah, thank you.
The north elevation, looking at it from right here, there's a building 19 feet directly north of this elevation. And on the right-hand side of this building line to the right by the man door, there's actually a section of fence there that has an employee entrance gate. And then this elevation is completely behind the fence line. And with the two buildings being that close in passing, the really only thing that you'll see would be the accented corners, because you got less than 20 feet of travel, even at 25 miles an hour, which, as you know, nobody goes that on that road, but you've got less than a second or two of visibility. And the client's proposes that he stack some of his material pallets along this building for entering into this overhead door for assembly of his crab pots.
I take it you're finished, Mr. Perkis?
Yes, if you have any questions, yes, sir.
Any questions from commissioners or comments?
Yeah, Alan, I thought we were doing something with both the rake and the eave on the roof line.
If you'll go down to, if you'll keep going down, I think keep going down. There's after these pictures. Okay. What we wanted to, this will show you for right now. This is a profile cut of the rake trim. A lot of your pre-engineered steel building rake trims are very simple. A lot of them is just L metal and so forth. As you can see, this rake has a little diversity to it as far as the brake metals, the angles and shapes. The in red there, I've kind of shown the box rib, and so this this rake metal will again extend out at the top of that box rib, and that profile there from the box rib going to the right, it has about an 8-inch depth, and that would also add some character, if you will, to that upper rake, and that would be primarily on the south end wall. And then when you go to the next picture, on the front, this shows the gutter. As you can see, it's not a little house gutter that's 3 by 5 or 3 by 4.5. It's again 8 inches deep. It's 6 3/8 inches. It will be outside of the wall, the high profile of the high rib on the front wall. And these again, the shape, if you can look at the shape of the gutter, when we bring these into the corner, we actually cope the corners because these profiles match the rake and the gutter to give it a more pleasing appeal at the corner.
And so what colors are these features, both the rake metal and the gutter?
Okay, the gutter itself at this time we're showing, because we have an imperial blue roof system, so the gutters were going to be blue, okay, and the rake were going to be blue, and then the darker gray color is it's called a a cool zinc gray. It's a darker gray, and then the vertical panel ribs are basically a cool granite gray, which is a lighter gray. The actual trim that would be used around the edges of the box rib and so forth would be the cool zinc gray, which is the darker trim. Downspouts would be the darker cool zinc gray, the darker of the two. And those gutters or the downspouts are about 4 by 5. They're a larger gutter. They're not a small section, giving it a little bit of a break.
Would it be possible to have staff remind us of their recommendations?
So yeah, based off of what has been submitted and previous discussions with staff, based off of kind of our discussions last week, it seemed like we were ready to recommend for approval, given the standard comments of making sure utility meters and things of that nature were not visible from the street.
Any further questions or comments? And before I move on, I just want to make sure that, Mike, you're okay? You've been able to?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Again, we can finish business today if you wish, so, or we can.
Tim, I just have a comment here I wanted to bring up, is that on both the rake and the eave flashings, both are with the gutter and with that rake flashing, whether or not there's another color we can have in here to even more accentuate that roof line.
What would you like? We're just kind of trying to go with the some of the colors of his existing buildings that have been approved in the past, and the older office type building colors. Would you have a recommendation? What would you like to see?
Well, I just think that flashing metal should be something that isn't either the gray or the blue. That's kind of a different contrast between those colors, so that it actually accentuates the roof line and the eaves along the building here.
Okay. To stay in the same family of the grays, the only thing that I could do would be able to probably go to a cool ebony, which would be a black trim.
Yeah. I actually think that would look good, Alan, but that's definitely up to the review board to think about that. I just think there needs to be something there that makes that roof line pop a little more.
It's going to make it look. It's a little bit tough if you're staying with the blue roof, because with the standing seam roof, you have a little arm that comes across to where I would probably leave the arm blue, just because it attaches to the high rib of the standing seam, but then it could still attach to the a dark, or we could I don't know. Yeah, if you're trying to look for a total different color change, I think that the cool ebony black cool ebony, which is a black, would probably go with the grays the best.
Yeah, no, I think so too, Alan. I think that that's the kind of contrast we're looking for.
Okay.
So, Mr. Perkis, would you be able to do that then? Would we be able to request that be done?
I can make that decision tonight and say, yes, that can be done. He has a heavy fabrication schedule, And he would really like to get approval on this project so we can get moving on it.
Well, if he's willing to do that, then chair requests a motion.
I move that we approve the Dungeness Gearworks Design Review PLN 706 with the conditions discussed tonight.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, no opposed. Thank you, Mr. Perkis. It looks like we have taken care of your business for today.
Thank you. And you all have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
So moving on to the next item on our agenda, do we have any requests for public comment?
We do not.
We do not. All right, that being said, then chair requests a motion for adjournment.
Move
I'll
to
move to
adjourn.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.